Welcome to the Concert Queen Connect ACL edition. We have a new spot that we are filming at today. I'm so excited to be joined with two people that I actually tried to hide from when I first saw them at ACL last weekend. We'll get into that, but they're famously part of an amazing band, an artist called Zoo, but they also have their own project called Hello Yes, which we will also talk more into. So I want to introduce you to Mitch and Ronny. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys. How are you guys doing? So welcome to Austin. Have you been to Austin before, or is this have you guys been here a whole bunch besides the time that I obviously met you?
Yeah, I've been down here a bunch. I used to come down here in college a lot and go to the jam sessions at the Elephant Room, the
Big jazz bar
club.
here.
Yeah. Is that place still going? Cool. Yeah, I used to come down and play with musicians down here. Also, we played here at ACL in 2017, I believe.
Yeah.
So, and then we were also here at Stubbs in 2018 or 19.
Yeah, I remember that. So that is actually where I met you guys, and I was trying to I saw you, I was on stage at the Miller Lite stage, and Big Wild was performing, and that's when I saw you guys. I was like instantly reminded of the moment that I met you guys, and I was extremely awkward in that moment because I just loved Zoo at the time and was really into that, and then seeing you two, I was instantly reminded that I ran into Jesse of Gravitas Recordings, who was like, hey, I would like you to meet somebody, and introduced me to y'all. And I was like, I've actually met you guys before, which come to find out. So it was at that Stubbs show, actually after, and you guys were on the tour bus, which you told me was actually the first and last time you ever done any kind of like meet and greet, right?
Yeah, I think that was.
I ruined it for everyone, so that's okay.
That was a rare occasion, and I think that might have been our last time we were on a bus tour as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
On that particular tour, we had this other vehicle that was following the tour bus around, and
the Moments Mobile.
It's called the Moments Mobile.
AKA the Momo.
The Momo.
The Momo.
You guys have a lot of play on words too, like with like the Zoo, all these different things. Like I've just seen all these different plays on words. So what the Mumu or the the Momo?
Yeah, the Momo was the Moments Mobile. It was an interesting tale with had its own set of stories on tour.
Really?
So there was like the tour bus where we all traveled, and then there was the Moments Mobile, and that was kind of like fan interactions and like just sort of it was to capture moments on tour with fans and people that were like engaging with the shows. So yeah, it's great that you had that experience, and honestly that was like I think one of the only times that happened where people like came in and
there was like the Momo had its own party thing going on after shows and like fans coming out and hanging out, but we just were never really a part of that, and Zoo was never like a part of that. But after the Austin show, we were like, hey, let's go like meet some people and hang out. And
it was on its own radio dial.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I actually had some friends fly in for that, and I mean, these girls were lit. So I was like, you guys are not. Basically, the other photographer, Yara, was like, hey, do you want to meet Zoo? And I forgot like where I met him in passing, and I was like, yeah. So he told me like where this mobile was, and so I like rushed back there. I'm the last one in line, and I didn't know what I was walking into to see you guys, and walk up the little stairs, and there it is. It's Zoo sitting at the table. I was telling him like Godfather style on this little table, and then you two are on either side of him, like his head, like you look like henchmen. Like I didn't know I was like, oh my God, okay, here we go. And it's ironic now, like given what I do, and I'm around artists and talk to artists, and I have this show. But at the time, Zoo was probably, for me, I had a music blog, and he was like the first artist that I had kind of really done a deep dive on and research. So I was just super fangirl. So being like the last person going on to your tour or to that bus, sat there and you're like this close from his face. And I mean, word vomited all over. I was just like, hi, you just had such a big impact on my life, and you've done this, and you've done this, and was just rambling. And that's why I was like, oh my God, they probably think I remember just walking off the tour bus, because first I saying all this stuff and you guys are there like, like just kind of nodding and smiling. And he's like, you know, I stopped talking and he's like, so what's your name? Can I just sign your poster? Like, so he just signed my poster and I was like, okay, thanks. Keep doing what you're doing. Like scurried off and then went to the Blacklist show afterwards. But yeah, that's why I just, you know, it was just a moment for me. And so I wasn't reminded of it until I actually saw you guys. I was like, oh, I've actually met them. And then you guys never did that again.
Yeah, I think you came onto the bus with a big old jar of mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Too. Like that also made it equally as weird for us. Like,
as well.
We both are kind of weirded out by mayonnaise. So.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Have you ever had a fan like bring you? Because I'm sure they sometimes have gifts and things like that for you. Have you ever had? What's like the craziest thing you've ever received from a fan?
Oh, Sax Daddy.
Wait, what?
That was Houston around that time. Maybe even earlier. Some fan slipped in, to our tour manager or something, got me a Sax Daddy bracelet, and everyone was crying. It was a gay fan, which is awesome, but it was just like I was just like, wow, I should really run with this. Like the Sax Daddy could be a thing, and I was like, should I change my Instagram to Sax Daddy? Is this guy gonna? Like,
I think he did change his Instagram to Sax Daddy for like 3 hours.
For 3 hours. I mean, I still I'm shocked no sax player has taken that name. Like,
there's still time. Don't steal it. Someone out there's gonna steal it now. They're gonna take that sax.
It's not that weird. Like the what do they call them? The bracelets where everyone's exchanging. Like
friendship bracelets.
Friendship bracelets. Yeah. You know, we get like a lot of those type, and they're all really special, and a lot of them are like customed out and so cool.
Yeah, totally. I save all of them. They're
really
cool. Yeah.
Wow. And what about you? What kind of fan gifts have you gotten? Anything on that Sax Daddy level?
I don't know if anything quite on the Sax Daddy level, but yeah, there's always like fan art that pops up on Instagram or we just randomly get tagged and stuff, and it's like really cool to see a drawing or a like overlaid photo with all kinds of other digital overlays on it. Yeah, just the fan art is really interesting to see. Like people are just like really into what we're doing and into it enough to be like, hey, I want to like make art out of what you guys do.
Yeah.
So that's always like really cool to see.
That is cool. And so how did you guys, I know we were kind of talking earlier about, I mean, Zoo obviously brought you guys together, but how has everything kind of transformed into now having your own project called Hello Yes?
What was the question?
So how did you guys, okay, let's just start with how you guys initially met and got connected.
Right. So I started working with Zoo in like 2015. I had met him before that, and that's kind of how we just became friends and started working on music. But around 2015 is when he was starting to tour more, and we were always talking about adding a saxophone player to the live setup. And we started holding some auditions, and Aaron was one of the first guys that came in, and he played, and obviously he plays really great, and so that was like immediately like a yes. And then you know, we just like started hanging and like just becoming friends too. It was like immediately clear that like he's like a brotherly fit for us. Like it wasn't like his energy was grinding against our energy. Like me and Zoo are pretty chill. Aaron's also super chill. We're not like super extroverted crazy people. We're like, yeah, more on the introverted side of things. And so yeah, we all kind of just like melded well together as people. And so yeah, like after touring for maybe like 2 or 3 years, we just started writing music together. It just kind of naturally happened.
Mitch often, like when he comes to LA for rehearsals and stuff, at the time would stay in my studio apartment because I live down the hall from my girlfriend. But at the time we had these studios down the hall from each other, so it was really easy for Mitch to just come and crash and use my apartment. And that's like a lot of the first music and stuff was made there because we'd just be hanging like all day and kicking it in Los Feliz, and Mitch was just there down the hall. And then we would like be going to rehearsals. And I mean, that was like definitely where a lot of stuff started on the laptop, and some of those first ideas came to fruition. But I think also just being on tour and like having some extra time in Airbnbs and just taking in like all the things we were seeing at festivals and being in like beautiful places like Montana, like in the winter, and like I mean, all of it, like a lot of this was for like Zoo's music, and his music is reflective of a lot of those places that we went to make his music. But then, you know, we were just kind of had a lot of downtime as well too, and we're just, you know, on the laptop like, oh, this idea, you know, that goes into a folder, and then later on we'd like, you know, rekindle it, and later on maybe it becomes a Hello Yes song.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think around like 2018, the beginning of that year is whenever it became clear that Hello Yes is going to be a thing. We had like a collection of songs that felt like, oh, this kind of has a sound. Some of the early songs are very, very different than what we currently sound like, and we still love some of those songs, but you know, maybe we'll rework them in the future. But yeah, 2018, 19, we were just like writing music, and then obviously pandemic happens, and around that time we kind of felt like we had a project together, but we sat on it. We didn't want to release it in that time period.
Yeah. So then with Hello Yes, and I know it's been in music blogs, but kind of how you came to that name, because it is a very unique name, and I think it's, if you can kind of tell that story of how you came to that name.
I mean, yeah, like there's, I think, a bunch of variations on that, because there's no real clear memory specifically like of where it came from. But I think remembering going to Bali with my girlfriend, they have these like, you know, people on the street driving these cool mopeds, and they're like, hello, yes. Like you're like you think that someone knows you because they're like so familiar. Hello, yes, hello, yes, and it's like, you know, greeting with an affirmation after it, and I just like remembered that, and I was like, oh, that's so funny. And then later on, we're just like making prank phone calls, and I mean, we're not like always making prank phone calls. It's like,
but yeah, we were
thing.
We were kind of bored on tour, and we wanted to troll some scalpers, so we called up some scalpers and made up some funny voices, and a couple of the calls started with hello, yes, I'm calling about the ticket you have for sale. And that's,
how did those conversations go? What's like a one that sticks out for you that you're just like, oh my God?
Well, I mean, the thing that's remarkable about those conversations was how they were recycled later and became art. So, and it was, you know, news to us too. Like Mitch and I mean, I guess maybe Mitch was working on the set with Sue, and all of a sudden there's like a new file like dropped into the set, and it's like the intro of the set is the call. And we're like, you know, we're playing like San Francisco.
Yeah, Bill Graham
in San Francisco.
That was the first show where we
sold out Bill Graham.
Opened up with a prank phone call as the intro to the show. It was,
so
people were just like highly confused, but also like laughing.
Yeah. So how was the conversation? Like, what is that? Like, tell us how that prank phone call went. I'm curious to hear like what that.
One of them, if I remember correctly, I haven't listened to him in a while, but one of them, the guy like trolled us. Mm-hmm. You know, he was like,
made it so fun though.
Yeah, he was like, you calling about the zoo ticket? And he's like, we were like, yes. And he was like, yeah, I got the giraffe ticket. I got the elephant ticket. He started talking about zoo animals in the call, and like, it was so funny. He was really quick, and he was on to us.
Oh.
But that one was like a pretty memorable one, where he just like figured out that we were trolling him, and
he was a real scalper. Yeah, he was like a real scalper, and he's like, oh, this is just, you know, bullshit call. So he knew, and he was kind of, we just kept it going for a minute. The other one, she was just like selling a ticket or something, or looking for a ticket, and it's like, is Chelsea? And she's like, yeah, it's Chelsea. And it's like, do you have ticket to zoo? And she's like, what? No, I'm looking for a ticket. And we're like, is classical music? What is zoo? And you know, we're just like rolling with it, and she's just getting really frustrated.
Oh no!
But then she's like trying also at the same time to explain to us what zoo is, and has no idea that she's speaking to zoo.
Oh my gosh!
And mind you, like what we're trying to do is ultimately like give some of these people free tickets.
We were gonna give them tickets at the end of the call, but the problem is she got so frustrated she hung up on us. No. And that we're like, oh. And that, anyways, yeah. That
so Chelsea, if you're out there, we'll get you some free Hello Yes tickets.
Chelsea's watching this; she has to see this.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. But you said that was at Red Rocks, right? That you guys premiered that particular. Or you have just kind of did these different things.
Yeah, that one played at Red Rocks.
Wow. So how has it been now that you have Hello Yes, and again, you guys have played every single major festival, I would say, and then you played Lightning in a Bottle. right, with Hello Yes. So how is that experience in a different way with this new project versus what you've done before?
Yeah, our green room writer isn't as nice. We camped in some tents, for that show. We didn't have nice hotels. No. Yeah, I mean, obviously the project's still very new, so we're building and all that. But yeah, we're just taking like Aaron said, we're taking our experience of working on these bigger stages with Zoo and trying to take notes and build some of these ideas into our own show in our own way. And just having that experience, like, I feel like just helps give us a little bit of an edge in the live space. Just
Definitely.
We've been there and done it a little bit, so yeah, that's.
Yeah, and I was reading somewhere that you guys, they had asked you about kind of an ideal place to experience your music, and you had said it was like in a small, kind of intimate, more setting. So how is that, like you said, just from going and playing these giant festivals to something like that is more personal? Like, I feel like you guys have a really strong connection.
I mean, we like
nature,
playing in front of big audiences.
Oh,
I think, yeah.
Well, no,
I remember this question.
We're gonna sell 10 tickets
I
now.
had just gotten back from a camping trip from Moab, and I was
Okay.
just like on this nature wave,
Got
and
it.
I was like, yeah, I want to play a show like to like 100 people out here. That would be rad.
Right. Well, let's talk about too, I guess, just from, I know you're from Oklahoma, so with that, like your whole influence with music, like where did that kind of stem from?
So my father is a guitarist, and he's like a classic rock guitar player, and man, he was really into Zeppelin and Sabbath and Hendrix and Jeff Beck, all kinds of cool classic rock. So he really exposed me to those sounds early on, which ignited a lot of the guitar and music interest. And then through that, I have other family members that also play that put me on to like Miles Davis and James Brown and other cool sounds. And so, yeah, I've just always been around music my whole life, and it's kind of just started forming the path for me. And all my friends are musicians too, so we were sharing music and always playing in bands together. And I decided to go to college for music. I wanted to study jazz. I got interested in jazz like later in high school, so that kind of is where it all started for me. My dad, my family.
It's amazing. So you just knew. I've always been envious of people that just kind of know out the gates, like they're like, this is what I want to do, and they just keep.
Right. Yeah, I made that decision.
That kind of don't know that.
He also has like perfect pitch, which he was kind of meant to be a musician.
I don't know, maybe. But yeah, like I made the decision around like 15, 16 years old that like I want to do music for a living. I don't know what it's going to look like for me or what that path is going to be like, but I'm going to practice. I'm going to learn everything I can about this, and here we are today. I just never had a plan B. It was always like plan A, figure out how to make it in music. And for me, that's looked like a lot of different things. I mean, I've played in wedding bands, I've played in artist projects, I've played in pit orchestras for Broadway shows, I've played in church bands, like just everything you could possibly imagine. Like I've said yes to and like learned from those experiences, and also made a lot of connections because of that.
Wow. So would you give that advice to someone else who's just coming up to do, like you said, take all the different gigs that they can for the experience, or would you kind of tell them to be more selective of what they're doing?
It just depends on what your goals are. I mean, for me at the time, that just seemed like the clearest path. It's just like say yes to all the opportunities and try and do my best work.
Yeah. And what about you? When did you kind of pick up the sax? And because you play other instruments, right? Just besides the saxophone?
Kinda. I play flute, and then nowadays I'm producing music and writing songs and doing all that, and singing for Hello Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, saxophone's definitely my main instrument. I don't know. I think I just kind of knew I wanted to play saxophone, or like at a pretty early age, and my dad just like showed up one day with a saxophone.
Really?
Yeah. Just like,
here you go, son.
I think he almost bought a clarinet because it was like cheaper, and then he was like, "Nah, screw that. Like we're going sax."
Been to Kenny G,
Yeah. I mean, I'm from Orange County, so like Kenny G was like the reference for most people for saxophone. So I kind of had to like, diverge from that and break that mold. And like, it's hard because Kenny G is not like a musician's musician. So
Really?
We don't need to go to the. We don't need to go down. That's a rabbit hole.
You're gonna start a beef with Kenny G.
Kenny G actually played at EDC. I don't know if y'all did you see that?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
He joined. He went
Epic.
on stage. I think it was either last year. I don't remember specifically which.
Who brought him out? Did he play as
I'm
his own project?
He's got his own. He's big enough name on his own.
Yeah,
To be
well,
honest,
sure.
I would go
He
check
came
it
out.
out.
He came out with a DJ, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's Kenny G at EDC."
Was it Big Gigantic? I feel like Big G would like have the note to do that because it would be. Yeah, I mean, for he's a sax player.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, the OOKAY. That was DJ.
Yeah.
Cool.
Brought out Kenny G.
So Kenny Gorlick is his real name.
Oh.
And like honestly, in my opinion, he's created his own genre of music. Like smooth jazz, like it kind of existed. Like Grover Washington Jr. like started smooth jazz, in my opinion, like good smooth jazz. And then Kenny G sort of like created this genre that like became this coffee house brand, right? That they all of a sudden like housewives are like listening to saxophone, and it's like, wait, what? That's not jazz though. What is it? It's just tons of reverb and this like really like pretty soprano sound and it's kind of brilliant. Like it's like Starbucks. It's like, is it great coffee? No, but like it's a thing.
Right. It's there. It's accessible.
Yeah. And funny enough, Kenny G lives in Seattle, where Starbucks is. So.
The Starbucks of music.
Pretty sure he's an investor in it too.
But yeah, I don't want my whole history to be about Kenny G.
We won't put
It's
your
okay. For sure. Yeah, I'm also a part of a school in Oklahoma called ACM at UCO, and it was founded by the manager of the Flaming Lips. Actually, he saw the concept in London when he was on tour with the Lips, and he brought this idea of this music industry curriculum back to Oklahoma and pitched it to some of the different university presidents, and the University of Central Oklahoma wanted to jump on it. So this school opened in 2009, and right around that time is whenever I graduated college with my master's in jazz studies, and they invited me to teach at the program. So I taught for the first year, taught guitar lessons and some classes in live performance. And then that second year, they promoted me to the program director for that school for music performance. And so ever since then, yeah, I've still been working as a teacher whenever I'm not touring, like trying to help students, learn about the industry, learn what it takes to be in this business and share my story and all that.
Wow.
So yeah, I love teaching. I love having kind of that full circle, giving back.
Yeah. Wow. What's the age range?
They're college students.
College
so
students.
yeah, 18 to 23, 24.
What's the common theme, I guess, or do they have a question that they're always asking you, or what is it that they're, because I feel like the generations now, just between music, like what's kind of their biggest either like hang up or pain point or something that you kind of see that's common with that generation?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like everybody's just trying to find their own voice and find what's unique about them as artists and as players. And that's something I'm always touching on too. It's like, it's good to study the masters, and we do that. We learn our own voices through imitation. So, we do study that, but like, I always try and help students pinpoint what's unique about their personalities and their artistry and tell them to just really lean into that. And so, yeah, I think that's like one of the biggest questions. Like, how do I cut through? Just be you.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Mm-hmm. And so how has that kind of translated over into Hello Yes? Because I just think it's really cool too as well. Like your saxophone, you're kind of using that as well to replace some of the vocals, because you can do that with the saxophone, right? And you can add in these different kinds of sounds that maybe you wouldn't normally have if you didn't have that element to it.
Yeah, a lot of our early songs had a lot more vocals on it, and we're not the best singers. We're still like learning our voices for our project, but yeah, we decided that, hey, let's try to remove some of the vocals and use more of our instruments as like verse voices or chorus voices. So we're trying to always like straddle that blend of the instruments and the vocals together.
Yeah, I think there's also like this role that these instruments like traditionally have, like saxophone and flute and stuff, like in horn sections. And as like a session player, you get brought into someone else's session and they're kind of like asking you to come up with like horn lines or like, you know, play like supporting stabs and pads and those types of things. And I think what's so fun about making the music in Hello Yes is we get to like do that for our own music, but also just completely break that mold. And it's always best to be able to like break these molds like once you know how things are traditionally done. Like, so I know like where the horn line might normally go or what it might normally be, but then we'll like record something and then Mitch might chop it up and like, you know, make it sound like more of an electronic saxophone, or like we like record like flute for like a whole pass and then we might use like one little flute thing.
Wow.
And just like, you know, that's to me where like some of the more interesting things are happening with the horns in the music, in our music, is we're reinventing, like, it's not, it is like you said, like it's our voice in a sense, not necessarily replacing vocals, but just like doing something new that instead of having a vocal part in this section, it's like just as interesting to have a horn or like some other sound or texture.
Yeah. So when do you know, and I think this is kind of common with artists, like when do you know a song's done? Because that is something, you know, I think you have like, I've listened, like Rick Rubin talks about all the time, like he's always trying to minimize people's, you know, cut things off and make people stop. But I feel like as an artist, like you said, especially if you're getting that granular with the production, how do you know when it's
the honest answer is whenever the label says, hey, we need to send this to mastering. And yeah, we're getting better about just knowing like, okay, we're ruining this now. Like, there's been versions of songs where it like starts going downhill after
100%.
a while. It's like, all right, we need to go back a few versions, and there it is, it's done. Usually when it starts doing that is when we know it's like, all right, time to,
I think once
put
you're
a bow on
past
it.
V12 on a Dropbox edit, then we're, you know, you're starting to see the decline.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you guys do, like you said, it's mastered and then it goes off. So let's talk about your new EP that you guys just had come out. So what's new and exciting about this EP that's different than previous music you've done?
The EP drops. Is it already out? No. It's out Friday, right? Next Friday.
Next Friday, the
Cool.
full EP's out,
Yeah, the first EP and the second EP were a collection of songs that were made together, so they feel pretty cohesive as one sound, in my opinion. We've been making a lot of new music too, and we're pushing the boundaries of that sound a little bit, but yeah, I think we're just trying to define what the blueprint is of the Hello Yes sound, and that's what these first two EPs are doing. And now, yeah, we're like pushing into other parts of, you know, exploring like what we can do with the texture of the saxophone and how we can incorporate our voices and our vocals into the music in different ways. So yeah, we're still very much exploring the boundaries of our world.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
I agree with all that. I mean, you know, in terms of this particular EP, Lost Signal, you know, it was definitely like a little darker and like this sort of like house party vibe, but like a little like colder, darker sounds and textures and drippy, and sort of like I feel like the debut EP, Listen Clearly, was maybe a little brighter, just like, you know, in terms of mood. But yeah, it's hard because like every song is its own identity. The next single that's coming up, Never Feel the Same, which is the last single off this EP, is to me definitely one of our best songs. And yeah, Mitch played this bass line on it that's just like so unique and grungy and interesting, and it's nostalgic in its own way. But yeah, they're all kind of like danceable, which is really cool, but at the same time feel like songs. And I think that's actually one thing with Hello Yes that's maybe different from a lot of electronic music, is we have songs, but at the same time,
actual producers like producing your songs versus, like you said, just mixing.
Or yeah, and they're also not like beats. Like a lot of like EDM, I think, is like really awesome beats, like that you can dance to with drops and like really interesting textures and like wobbles and glitched out stuff, which I love and we're definitely inspired by, and it's in our music in places. But what I think makes this project uniquely special is that a lot of the tracks actually are like songs and have like song formats.
Wow, that's exciting. So then when are you guys going to start touring and getting that whole, you know? with this new album, do we have any dates already on the calendar? Is that to be announced down the line?
All good.
Yeah, we're hoping to play in Austin soon.
Okay.
We had a show here. We unfortunately had to reschedule, but yeah, we're looking at getting a new date for that. We have a couple opportunities coming up. Denver, hopefully soon. Where else? Maybe, is it Santa Barbara?
Yeah, we're looking at maybe like a little West Coast run in Q1 of next year.
Yeah.
Just Santa Barbara for sure, probably San Diego and LA.
Yeah, so it's still like
bubbling up.
We're
a lot of
trying
conversations.
to build into hopefully getting a opening slot on a tour. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of steps that kind of have to happen before we get there, but
Right.
stuff is starting to move a little bit for us in that regard.
That's awesome. And then for ACL, you guys had this show on Sunday. You're playing an after show, right, on Saturday? The Emos after show is tomorrow, and then actual ACL on Sunday.
Correct. Yeah, Zoo's playing a set at Emos. I think we're going out to that. We might jump up and play a couple tunes with them.
Yeah.
If we remember to bring our instruments. But yeah, we might just save the sauce for Sunday and play the show. Yeah, we're on the Miller Lite stage.
Yeah, it was pretty.
7?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun stage. There's Big Wild was on there, which I don't. Yeah, it was a pretty active stage, so it was really fun to see. I mean, because you don't really see the presence of dance music, and like you said, I think you guys really, even just with Hello Yes, but even Zoo, it's just its own genre. Essentially, I don't see it like you said. It's not classic EDM with just beats per minute. It's its own very unique songs, which I think is very unique to you guys.
Yeah, we're trying to pull on our indie rock influences, our soul influences, our jazz influences, as well as our experiences playing these festivals and hearing how the hard bass hits. So we're trying to find the Venn diagram of how all that stuff meets together.
The Venn diagram, yeah, for sure.
That's exciting. And like you said, you have this evolution. So it sounds like you guys are going to be constantly kind of reinventing yourselves with each sound and these new experiences and just new production.
Yeah, and then you build off of we have had no live experiences with Hello Yes until Lightning in a Bottle last year, or this year, I mean. So then now we have that experience to build off of, where it's this is how we felt on stage during this song. So we need to make something else like this, you just build off of that, and then ultimately everything just kind of the live influences the studio influences the live. But right now, we up till now, obviously we've been touring with Zoo and we have a lot of those experiences to build off of, but we have so much more to do with Hello Yes, because it's we've done literally one show at this point, which was a pretty epic show though. Which was pretty epic.
Yeah, so Aaron is a long-time Lightning in a Bottle attendee. And
I was wondering what word you were going to use there.
Long-time attendee.
There's a lot
Acid
of
head.
Is there a name? Is there a nickname for people that attend a lot of Lightnings in a Bottle?
Bottlehead? No, I'm just kidding.
Bottleheads?
No, I mean, Libbers. I don't know. I've seen all sorts of stuff. I don't think so, though. It's not they're basically burners, but just it's a California version, festival. But yeah, it's burner culture pretty much. So I don't know.
Yeah, so a few years, I guess it was probably 17 or 18, you invited me to come out to play in a jam band that you had booked on one of the stages there. And it was my first experience at the festival, and I loved it. Just rad lineup, rad culture at the festival, and just had a great time. And then I think it was the next year after that, we actually played the festival with Zoo. So I got to go back a second year to experience the festival.
To headline it.
Yeah, which was also kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, how is that? I feel like that, again, that juxtaposition of you're going from an attendee to now you're headlining that.
It's a mind fuck.
Yeah, it was really special for sure to be at the stage the year before watching, K Tronada and Bomba Stereo and all these really great artists, and then to be there the next year, playing on that stage, looking out and remembering those experiences. It was really, really special. But yeah, after the pandemic and all that, we released the project. Aaron has some connections to the Grand Arctique stage, which is at Lightning in a Bottle. And yeah, we just kind of backdoored our way into getting a set time, and we had no idea what to really expect with the show. Obviously, it was our first show. We have no noticeable fans out there really yet. But anyway, we started playing, and the stage just packed immediately, and they just stayed with us the whole time.
Wow.
And yeah, to have 1,000, 1,200 people out there just jamming with us was so awesome to feel, and also just affirmed that we're in the right space, we're doing the right thing. We need to just keep leaning into our sound. We need to play more shows. We need to get out there and keep building the Hello Yes world.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a very validating moment on stage, right? I remember Mitch and I had in our mental cues, it's all right, this transition, play this guitar part, sing these parts, whatever we had in our head, we got to do all the musical things for the show. And then I remember I think it was song 4 or 5 or something. We look at each other, and there's all these totems, and it's it's the dark of the night lit up with just energy and vibe, and there's just people up to the stage, and they're just looking at you, and they're just going for it, and hula dancers. And we just had that moment where we looked at each other, and we're like, it's on, we're in it. It was super special to be able to do that with Hello Yes, and to have it blow up like that. And I mean, there was a moment where right before the set, you never know. There's at a festival, it's kind of weird. There's main stages going on in the evening that you're competing with big names, Chet Faker and Big Wild were at the festival, and all it's everyone's looking at their schedules and this and that. So you don't know if you're gonna get some runoff or if people are just gonna not be at your set. So we were just all right, this might be our first show, and it might be mellow, and so that's how we were kind of we didn't say it, but we were thinking it.
Right.
Which is kind of a nice way to go into it, not having any expectations.
Sure. Yeah, we had very little expectations coming into the show, but after we played, for the next week, it was just hundreds of messages from people that were at the set that were just oh my God, you guys absolutely killed it. You were one of my favorite sets. We had no idea what to expect. We had no idea who you were. You guys, it was really overwhelming.
Asking us for track ideas.
Yeah, they were what was this song? Yeah, it was all of that kind of stuff.
What was that one? I'm that's our first show.
Yeah, I think we had a handful of followers on Instagram, and after that, it's noticeably grew. I mean, we still have a small amount of followers, but a lot of people
I've never
following us just because of the performance.
I've never had a response from one show like that before, and all the shows I've done in my entire life.
Wow.
With all the artists I played with, nothing like that.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like you said, I feel it's more validating because they're coming and they're just walking up and hearing your music for the first time. So then. Yeah,
it's
very surreal.
They talk to you a lot of people ask you questions what was that moment you knew that you were a professional musician or that you made it? People ask shit like that, and you're just it's not one moment. It's you have to. It's a series of wins, and then you're at another level, and then you actually feel you failed at that level, and then you have to push, and it's and that's kind of probably true in most professions. Mm-hmm. But this did feel like one of those notches. Even though it's we need to do it again. Gotta play again. It was one show.
But still, you can go back and hang your hat on that and be we did that, and that's validating to keep going. Because if it swung the other way, you'd be ooh, okay, maybe we don't need to be doing this anymore.
Yeah,
so
try something else.
Yeah.
No, but for real, it was very validating, and we're excited to try and get back again this year. They've talked to us about potentially coming back on a different stage, so hopefully we can start those conversations pretty soon.
Yeah, that would be pretty epic.
Yeah.
But just real quick, I'd like to add that I've been going to that festival since that was my 10th LIV. So it was very special to do that with Hello Yes. It was very special to headline it with Zoo and Mitch. And when I first started going to that festival, it was in Silverado Canyon, where I think it was the second location. And I had never been to a music festival before. And my friend literally just texted me the morning of, said, "Hey, you want to go to this Lightning a Bottle festival today with me? I'll pick you up, and let's go pick up some Subway sandwiches." That was literally the text. And I didn't bring a sweatshirt, a tent. I just wore street clothes. I wasn't festival garbed out. He had a Mexican blanket in the back of his truck or his car, and we had the Subway sandwiches. We ate half of them and saved the other half for later. And that's how we went to the festival, with one piece of warmth and like a little bit of food. Wow. And that was it.
And describe this festival for someone who's never been, like you said, that they don't know what they're necessarily walking into with lightning in a bottle. So if you're going, like you said, what was it actually when you were there?
Well, back in the day, then it was definitely had like more of this like burner vagabond vibe, where like it was actually older then. Like the festival's gotten much younger, and like there's like a mix of Coachella people that like festivals and a lot of advertising, and it's grown, and I think there's like 30,000 people that come now, and it's massive, and it's definitely known as one of the best festivals, not just in California but in the United States.
I've heard that because of the vibes. Everyone's always like
vibes and the lineups. They have Dulab has this knack for just like finding the artists that are going to lead the next scene, and I mean, if I could go down the list, you know, it's just crazy, like who they've discovered. I think Flume early days, and Fantagram, and Toki Monster. I mean, just like there's so many, you know, it's like a lot of artists that LIB has found. And anyways, what was the question?
Oh, you had your Mexican blanket and you showed up to the festival.
Yeah, I'd never been to a music festival before. I'd been to like concerts and stuff, and my friend Christian, who also like was, you know, incredible jazz musician and plays guitar, and kind of showed me the way. And I've shown other people the way, but he was the one who showed me the way. And it was the first time I tried LSD, and it was really interesting. I just, you know, didn't know what to expect, and you're at this festival and there's people around, and we ended up like coming up with like our own narrative of like kind of who was there and where they'd come from, and like there was like these people with these totems, but it was the first time I'd ever seen a totem, and it was actually really early days for totems at the time. So we had this like.
It's always a commitment when you have a totem. I feel like, and I can't do that. It's a lot of you have to walk around with that thing. I respect it, but I personally couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, we were just like mystified by it, because we're like, oh, they must have some like signaling, some sort of like signals that they're sending to each other, like in the crowds, like when the totem goes up, that like they're, I don't know. We had this whole theory that they were like some cult, and they'd come, and it was like just this. Only these people had the totems. But LIB at the time had a temple, a temple of consciousness, on top of a mountain, and you would actually walk about a quarter mile up a hill onto a mountain, and they had like a gong sound bath up there in an actual temple, and it was overlooking Silverado Lake, which is Native American land. I mean, it was amazing and gorgeous, and so it was like a wonderful place to do LSD for the first time, and really like warm and open community, and a lot of people that show up end up performing or like involved in some sort of way in the festival, and it had that burner element. And I had never not experienced a festival, but to, you know, also experience that sort of like that kind of raver community in that way, where it wasn't like no one's like selling beer and like, you know, none of that. Like you could bring your own alcohol into the festival. Like it was just totally different energy. And I mean, I don't know if they made any money that year, but
they're still here though. They're still alive and kicking.
Absolutely. And they run Dulab, you know, at Coachella and all that.
Mm-hmm. So playing that now, like how, I'm sure you had your friends there and people there that are part of that community for you. So how did that feel, having that support and them seeing you?
Well, yeah, at this point, it's like LIB is a community, and I like know of so many friends that are like from that world and that space. And the first people that I ended up like camping with that year, I mean, like I guess some people that Christian knew that year were camping, and I didn't even know that they were going to be there. And then now some of those people are like my best friends, and I mean, it's just so special. Like, and I feel like a lot of people in the rave community have these sort of stories. Like I see LIB nowadays, like on their social media, like tell us your story of your first LIB, like how you met your, you know, kismetic connection or whatever. And someone will be like, I was at the Woogie and this guy just looked at me and his eyes were so round, and you know, it's just like I you know, I know, like for me that was like my virgin experience, and I'll never have another experience quite like that. Wow. So now it's like my job to, you know, we're gonna come in with our music and like transform the festival that way, like bring that art. So yeah, I had my years of going as an attendee, and I'm still down to go as an attendee, but like now it's like our turn to like take everything we learned and all that vibe and like bring it back to these festivals.
For sure. Yeah, we still
on stage.
attended the festival this last year.
100%.
We went a few days early, set up camp, brought our friends and our girlfriends, and had a great time. Got to experience a few days of the festival before we played, so
wow.
it helped really set the tone and get us in like the right mindset to get up there and perform.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited. I listened to your music, and I will say the only thing that I felt was that I just wanted more. I wanted more songs. I didn't want it to stop. I was like, I need more music, and I'm sure that's probably the same sentiment that you're probably hearing from a lot of people, because you guys are great. Like, you really are. And what you're doing is amazing. I know I said this on the tour bus with Zoo, but I'm saying it now. Full circle moment. But you guys really are something special. And so I wish you both the best in everything that you're doing, and keep it up, because like you said, that was literally, I'd say my only thing was I just want more. I like can't find enough songs to listen to because I just want more music. And that's very rare. You know, people hear different music, and I've listened to all different types of music. But particularly with you, I found I was like, okay, I need to find more, and I just can't wait for this new album to come out and for you guys just to take over. It's exciting.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we have a lot of new music. Hopefully we'll be releasing some top of next year. So yeah, the idea is to keep it steady for the next few years and just have a lot of music out there. Yeah,
can't wait. Is there anything that you want to, that maybe you want to tell people about, or that we might have left out? Or
I have one question. Speaking of new music, you guys, the album art for like some of your singles, is there any like
great
inspiration
question.
behind that, or like meetings?
yeah, of course. The whole prank phone call narrative informed the whole visual for the project.
You should tell at least the artist and where
because
she comes
it's
from.
cool.
Maria, yeah. Masha Fee is her IG. I don't remember her last name. Maria is the artist. And yeah, I think she was just someone that did like a Karangbin poster. And we are like looking for an artist at the time. And we're all like, yeah, this is really cool. And I think it fits the aesthetic. And she started just mocking up some of our ideas. And for the first 2 EPs, we went with her. And it's definitely created a really nice aesthetic. And one thing I was especially happy with is how those visuals looked on stage when our VJ was remixing some of that art content for the live visuals. It actually looked really rad. So
Wow.
That's cool. Yeah, you can definitely tell there's like a cohesiveness to it for sure. Yeah.
cool, yeah.
Yeah, he's really into like the vintage kind of.
I collect like music posters and stuff, so I'm always like
Yeah.
into that. Yeah.
That's very cool.
But yeah, Karangbin does this really cool thing where like every show they use a different artist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I just noticed they were doing that, and I was
Huh.
like, that's really cool.
Wow. Yeah. Well, how can people find you?
At Hello Yes Music on Instagram. I don't think we have a Twitter yet.
It's a lot. Social media is its own thing. I feel like there's a lot on top of everything else you're trying to do and create music. So that's why you have Trusty Jesse over here.
Yeah, Spotify, all the
Spotify, SoundCloud.
Yes on any channel, on any music channel.
Yes,
And we'll have all the
Spotify,
links
too.
and everything for you guys as well. But well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for
It's
having
a
Yeah,
me.
thank
pleasure.
you so much
Excited
for
to
having
see
us.
you guys and all the different ways. So we'll see you. I guess I'll probably go to the after show tomorrow, and then definitely see you guys on Sunday. And what time are you guys playing on Sunday?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Miller Lite Stage. So, well, thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week. Yay.